What's up YouTube? Elegant Mess here. Today we're going to do a video for the HP Pavilion dv7, how to go about dismantling and cleaning it, taking off the heatsink for the processor and GPU, taking off the old thermal paste, reapplying new stuff, cleaning up the motherboard, any other PCB boards that are in there, like your wireless adapter, just a general cleaning throughout the whole thing. It'll be a complete dismantle, how to remove the keyboard. So if there's a keyboard replacement needing to be done, screen replacement, pretty much anything. This will be a complete dismantle of the laptop. So if you guys have any specific questions, just leave them in the comment section below and let me know what you think. We'll get started. Okay, so first thing we'll do, just kind of go over anything that's going to be required tool-wise. I usually like to keep a can of compressed air, 91% isopropyl alcohol, 91% or higher, Q-tips, cotton swabs for taking off the old thermal compound. What also works well are coffee filters. They don't leave any fibers. I've already replaced the thermal paste on this recently, so it'll come off pretty easily. But coffee filters actually work pretty well due to the fact they don't leave any fibers. New thermal paste, Arctic Silver. I'm using Arctic MX2. Set of small screwdrivers. I also have another toolkit that I use, and maybe a small pair of needle nose pliers. Other than that, that's pretty much everything you're going to need, I think. So we'll get started. Also, I like to keep just a little container, whatever, to keep all the screws organized from how they come out. There's going to be multiple different sizes of screws and placements for them. So a little tray or something will help you keep them organized for where they're going to go. So, first thing we're going to do, go ahead and remove the battery. Hold down the power button about 5-10 seconds just to discharge any electricity that's in there. And then we'll start with the two main compartments. The two main compartments, these screws will almost stay right in them, and they'll kind of pop out a little bit. Sometimes you'll need a small flathead screwdriver to get underneath them to help them pop out. And then these ones, I'll just leave the screws right in as I take it out. I believe this one on the top one will have two little clips on the underside that stick in from the left that cover the hard drive. And this one should pop right out. It'll take a little bit of force, but just be gentle with it enough to get them out and not snap the clips on it. like I said, I'll just leave these screws right into it. Okay, from here, take out the hard drive. Now the hard drive on this one, on the left side of it, to the left of where the remove tabs are, there's two little plastic, I guess you would call them rockers almost, that the hard drive will pop up on. If you just stick a small screwdriver underneath those, the hard drive will pop right up. Just like so. And the connector for it is loose, so you can pull it out and disconnect the hard drive. We'll go ahead and take the RAM out. Just pull out to the outsides of the little clips, and the RAM will pop right up. And just pull these right out. Same for the bottom set. So if you are upgrading the RAM on it, that's as easy as it is. Just remove the two compartments, access the RAM just like that. You may be able to get to it just from the primary one, but it may make it easier this way. So from here, we're going to go ahead and take out all the screws on the outside corners. I like to use a magnetic screwdriver, especially for these ones. They sometimes can be a bit of a pain to get out. Some of them are a little deeper recessed than others, where the small screwdrivers, like the top corner ones, I'll just take a small screwdriver to it. Just place my magnetic screwdriver right to the side of it, pull it right out. And also this center screw right here, there's going to be a little disc mark right next to it. Once you remove that one, that is the mark for your CD drive. That'll pull right out, and you can keep that out. Also, if you're upgrading from a CD drive to an extra hard drive in it, that's also how you would do it. Just take this out, and the adapter will slide right back into place. From there, you're going to have 4 screws under the battery compartment right here. Okay. Oh, also, while we're in here, we're going to go ahead and I'll give you a little closer shot of these ones. You're going to have 3 large flat screws right here, and then these 2 smaller ones. These will all come out right now as well. And then to save time, there's also 2 screws here, 2 more here, and 2 here. You take all those out. After those are out, we're going to go ahead and this is the wireless card right here. Each of these cords should be labeled, along with on top of the wireless adapter, it should be labeled 1 and 2, so you know which cord goes where when you put it back. If not, take a picture, remember where they are, write it down, and these will just pull right off. If you just lift straight up on them, they should just come right off. Because when we flip this over and take off the monitor, those are going to come off along with it. So I believe that is it for here. Also, there's 2 screws that go right here on top of the underneath of the DVD drive. Remove those as well. Just kind of tuck that in for when we flip it over. Lift up the top. And then what we're going to be doing, where the speakers are on it, where the speakers are oriented under the screen, right along here is the front bezel. So on the back side you'll see where the bezel is attached to it. We're going to stick a small flathead screwdriver under each side of that, and that'll pop right up. Now there are two cables connected underneath this, so be careful when you lift that up. You don't want to just pull it straight out. So you're going to gently lift that up and then disconnect the cables that are attached to the front bezel here. Should come off quite easily. Same thing, there's little clips underneath it. And we'll do the same thing with this side. Just give a little bit of pressure. Should pop right out. All these pieces are plastic, so just be gentle when you do this, not to break them. Also, the front bezel on the side where it connects to the piece under the keyboard, there's little tabs in it that stick underneath it, so you're almost going to need to lift it forward to bring it out. Like I said, this is connected to the laptop, so don't lift it straight up. As I'll show you right here. On the underside, you have two cables. This one right here near my thumb, and there's another white one on this side under my thumb. Now the white one on the left side, there's going to be a little black bracket that sits on top of the white cable keeping it in place. The one in the center, I believe, is just in place by a double layer, which is a little bit thicker just to keep it in place. So from here, what we'll do, if you slide this up just a little bit, right under the bezel, you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4 screws holding the actual keyboard in. So we're going to go ahead and take these 4 screws out, and we can pull the keyboard right out. And then from there we can take the bezel off. Now when taking out the keyboard, if you just slide it forward a little bit, there's little clips that sit underneath it, so if you just pull it forward a little bit, it'll come right out. And again, this is going to have a cable connection underneath it. So if you just gently lift this up, there's a little black tab underneath here. It'll cooperate with me. Little black tab right on the top here. On the top of the white strip, if you just push the black tab, it'll come right off. You just push it forward, and that'll allow you to remove the keyboard cable. So I'll just take a small flathead right on the sides of it and just push it forward. little by little it'll come right off. There it is. Now you don't want to lose these or break these. It's just a little tiny black clip that keeps it in place. And then from there, there's a little tab on this that you can just pull it right out and the keyboard comes right off. So for your keyboard replacement, this is all you need to do as far as you need to go to get the keyboard out, and you would just literally just order the new keyboard. The part number that you'll need is actually right underneath it, and you would just slip it back in, put the cable in, and we'll go over that when we reassemble it. So from here, we can take off the front bezel. The black strip that was connected under the center of the front bezel has got a motherboard tab on it. So we'll go ahead and just pull that off. And then we can access the white one on the left. This one will have a little black clip on it, just like the other one did. So again, I'll just take my small flathead and just pull this little black clip right off. Just do a little black one, just like the other one, just smaller. And then we can pull the cable right out, and the front bezel will come right off. This does have the speaker covers on it, so be careful with it. And underneath are the speakers. Be very gentle with those, don't poke them, because you will lose your sound. There's going to be a center connection line right underneath it. This will come right off with the cable line. Sorry, I try to give you the best view here. Make sure you can see that. Yeah, it'll be this one right here. It's connected right to the speaker, so it's pretty easy. Just give it a good push, and it'll come right out. Again, being gentle with the speakers. Sometimes I'll use a clean paintbrush, like I've got one that I use just for dusting, and gently go over those to remove any dust that's on them. Other than that, you know, I'd just be very gentle with them. Again, part numbers on it if you need to replace your speakers. And then all the screws along the top here, those can be removed, and we're going to remove this full strip that runs right across here. Okay, so with the two cables for the wireless adapter that we had you disconnect, we're going to get ready to pull those out now. The white tab here is connected for your USBs. You can just pull on the little tab, the blue tab, and that'll come right out. Just remember to keep all the folds in all of these, and it's very easy putting everything back together. You won't have to put any more vents in it because it'll go right back the way it came out. Then we've got two cables here that we're going to disconnect. And with this one, it's almost got like a grayish sleeving to it. We'll pull this right out of its seating, which leads right up to the monitor. Pull that out, and then underneath that you're going to have a black and white one. These are the ones from the wireless adapter. These will pull right up from underneath. And same thing, take them out of their seating, right up to the monitor. Move the other cable underneath it. There's two screws in the center here. I apologize if my hands get in the way here. I'm trying to give you the best picture as possible, but if you have any problems, just message me, or just rewind the video and go back over it. Sorry about that, the memory filled up on my camera. So once all the screws are out here, we're going to disconnect, make sure the cable to the left for the monitor is disconnected, all these were pulled out, all the screws are out. Next thing after that, there's going to be 4 screws, 2 on the left side of the hinge and 2 on the right side for the right hinge for the monitor. Once you take those 4 screws out, that's all that's holding the monitor in place on the hinges. Just make sure you keep a hand on the top of the monitor as you're taking the screws out so the monitor doesn't just fall back on you. Okay, so once we've taken out the 4 screws, the screen will just pop right off just like that. So if you need to do a screen replacement, anything like that, this is how you're going to access the bezel. The bezel will just pop right off, just similar to how the keyboard did, and you can just pull the screen right out. There's probably a tab connector underneath it, but just so you know, that's going to be how you're going to access it. Underneath the screen, there's 4 screws right along the top here. Go ahead, take those right out. I've already removed them. Once those are removed, to get the front part where the touchpad is, you're going to go ahead and right between the 2 pieces, just take a small screwdriver and just insert it, and the little tabs are going to pop right up, and you go right around the front part and along the sides of it, right along the sides, right up to about here and here. As you'll see, this is all one piece, and this will pop right off, all as one piece. So from here, 1, 2, 3 screws holding the motherboard down. There is another tab for the motherboard that goes in the front here. Take that one off. That one we're going to leave right in. So we'll go ahead and remove these screws. Before you disconnect that, if you flip it back over, where the wireless card is, there's 2 screws holding the wireless card in. So if you need to replace the wireless card, you may be able to, you don't need to go this far for the dismantling process, but you can access it just from the panel. Take the 2 screws out, and the wireless card will pop right out. Go ahead and flip it right back over. Take the SATA connector right off. And we should have access to the motherboard. Gently lift up. Remembering all your USB connections and stuff are on the side. Lift up from the side. And there's our motherboard. So I have already recently cleaned the fan and stuff on this, but just so you guys know, to actually remove the fan, this is all one unit here. I'll give you a little close-up shot of that. So the heatsink and everything here is all one piece. So we can go ahead and undo 1, 2, 3, 4 screws here. And don't forget there's a power connector for the fan right attached to that. So we're going to take that right off and then undo the 4 screws, and the whole heatsink assembly will pull right off. As you can see, I freshly did the thermal paste recently on this, but we'll go ahead and clean that. For the GPU, this is the heatsink for the processor, and then this one is for the GPU. This is an actual thermal pad. I'm going to leave that one right on because it looks like it's in good shape, so we're just going to leave that right there. If the thermal paste has not been changed since you purchased the laptop, it's probably going to be very dry. It may take a little more time than what this will. Take your isopropyl alcohol and Q-tip. You can run it across, and this stuff will come right off. Like I said, if it hasn't been done yet, it may take a little more time getting everything off, but you want it a nice, clean, shiny surface. Just like such. Do the same thing for the processor. Okay. Well, from here, I'll usually go ahead and just give this a quick spray, just to make sure it's nice and dry. As you can see, should come out being very shiny. Just give it a nice spraying, make sure there's no dust on it. And this is where you can go through and actually clean the fan out. Make sure to get in all the fins for the fan. Like I said, I've cleaned this one recently, so it's not very dirty. But you guys get the idea. Go through, clean this all off. And we can go ahead and apply the new thermal paste. Now I'm a little more liberal with my thermal paste than some people. Some people say just put a drop right in the center, put the heatsink back on, and let it dissipate on its own. I like to give it a good covering. That's just how I like to do it. Not an excess to where it's really going to run off too much on the sides. Just enough to cover it, and then I'll go through and thin it out and make sure there's no air bubbles. Like that. Okay, so once everything is clean, you have your thermal paste reapplied. You can go ahead and put the heatsink right back on. And I'll kind of do these in a kitty corner fashion, tightening them as I go, just to make sure that it has even pressure all the way around. Okay, now that's reapplied, go through, give everything a nice dusting, all the parts and components. Just go through and make sure everything's nice and clean as you put it back together. And we'll get putting this back together right now. Most importantly, don't forget don't forget to reconnect the fan. That won't do you any good if it's not connected. Okay, so from here we're going to go ahead just gently set this right back into place. You want to make sure all the USB ports and everything are lined up and in properly. Just like that. Sits right back in place. So we'll go ahead and put the screws right back into place on all the corners. So as you put in this corner one, you don't want to over tighten them, but nice and snug. We'll insert the tabs as we go. And as I said, just leave the folds right in them and they'll go right back and line up right where they should. It goes through from the other side. And the wireless adapter on the back needs to go back in. Okay, so the wireless adapter is back in place there. We've put the card back in place. Okay, so we've got the motherboard back into place. We've got both cards, one on the back side and the wireless adapter card, both connected back in. Make sure all your tabs are in and power connectors are attached. We're going to attach the top part of the keyboard. Sure it's seated properly, and this cable should be on the outside. Should be able to go through and snap it right back together. Okay, sorry about that, I had a phone call. So now that we've got this click back into place, we can go ahead and put all the screws back in on the top. Start with these two here. I need the ones that have the little silver inserts in them. Those are where the keyboard goes, so the rest all go along here, plus the ones on the top here. So I'll probably fast forward this and just replace the screws as they want. So, I guess we have to run these cables underneath. So, set the monitor back over its placement. Make sure the holes are lined up. Remember, sorting your screws is important for knowing where they go back, because a lot of them look alike but are a little bit different, so just remember to keep them organized as you go. Okay, so the monitor is connected. We'll go ahead and click this one back into place. Feel it snap right back on. And then run these cables back through their routing holes. Remember, the two black ones are going to go right down below here, the black and white one, and those are going to go to the wireless adapter. And this one is going to get plugged right back in. Close this down and we'll connect the wireless adapter. As I said, each one of these is labeled with a number that correlates to the number on the wireless adapter, so you know which side it goes on. And those just click right back into place. those two. Okay, so now we can set the keyboard back in place. We also want to do the speakers and the front bezel as well. Speakers went right on top, like so, and plug them back in. And you also want to connect the front motherboard one from the sound bezel, from the speaker bezel, and the white one we'll leave till afterwards. Actually, we could probably do that right now. So we can do that one first, because that was a little bit longer. This one gets the small black hinge. Let's see if I can get you a close-up on how these go back together. Okay, so take the cable and just set it in there. And the little black hinge will go right over the top of it and keep it in place. These are a bit of a pain in the butt to work with sometimes, so just be patient. So the center one for the motherboard is connected, and then we can go ahead and place the keyboard with the power connector. Same way. Make sure it's nice and snug. There it is. And then we can screw the top pieces for the keyboard in place. Slip the back side in first. Just pull the bezel right up, and we'll put the 4 screws back in. So I'm going to go ahead and get these 4 screws for the keyboard back in the top here, and we'll keep going. Okay, so we got the keyboard and the bezel in place. The only thing I forgot to mention was that there is one of the smaller flat round screws that goes under the keyboard. I did forget to mention that goes right around the WASD key right under here. So just make sure you get that in there. Sorry. Other than that, the top side is done. We'll just flip her over. I've already put the RAM back in. Very simple. Just clicks right into place. We can put the hard drive back in. Make sure you can see here. Yeah. Clicks right on. Set that in place. Press the hard drive. Also, the other round flat screws, put those back in here. Don't forget the screws underneath the DVD tray right here as well. Slide the DVD back in. Slide that back in. And put the screw back in for it. That's good. So we'll just, from this point, go ahead and put all the screws back into place. Well, thank you guys for watching. that's the wrap-up of the HP Pavilion dv7. So we just went ahead, finished putting everything back together, and that's how you're going to go about cleaning, disassembling, and taking care of your laptop. So if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them in the comment box below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.